Well, hello everyone. This is Jarvis Citizen Gamer, and once again with me, Lightning Dragon, on our second podcast. Don't worry, this one will not be as long as the first one. We got to get carried away. I wanted to go ahead and get his opinion on something that came to mind, and it's just he doesn't know what it is yet, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here. It's about Arena Commander. What do you think of the idea of separating out ships by a classification of combat rank, very similar to World of Tanks or Armored Warfare and whatnot, thereby allowing people who have the same kind of ship, or like, for example, just starter ships all the way up to full combat ships, to be separated out to encourage more people with just base packages to get in and start playing Arena Commander?
Well, if you're talking friggin' battle rating like War Thunder, that's a terrible, terrible idea.
Oh, I,
But
did,
if
I
you're
didn't say War
talking,
Thunder.
yeah, I know. when you started saying that, I'm like, oh, battle rating system from War Thunder? Oh God, no. But if you want to separate it out into like pseudo tiers, like we mentioned the last time, where you have like light fighters. If something has less than 4 guns, it's a light fighter. Anything that has more than 4 guns, up to I don't know 7 guns. I'm just making up a number. It'd be like a medium fighter. And you can also go into more depth with that, with having like certain sizes. If it has weapons that are larger than size 3, even if it only has 4 of them, or rather 2 of them, because they're size 3 guns, it would be moved up to the medium fighter category. And that actually wouldn't be a bad idea, though in general, I actually don't like the Arena Commander system. I hate it. So, there's that.
Well, we couldn't have too many tiers because there's honestly not that many ships to
If you
to
had 2 or 3 tiers, though, I mean, that's
yeah,
really all you'd really need.
right. And at the very least, I was thinking a three-tier system. You'd have tier one, which is your starter ship packages, your base Mustangs, your Mustangs, your Auroras.
Aurora 300s.
Stage two is like your 325s, your 350Rs, your Gladiuses, those kind of ships, your Avengers. And then you have and of course, like M50. And then you have your stage four, or stage three, I should say, which is your Hornets, your Gladiators, your Vanguards, your Sabers. And basically, obviously, there's going to be some ships better than others inside of that category. Uh, but you could still split it up by basically by ranking the ship based upon, as you said, firepower or what its role is. Like, clearly, like, you have some Mustangs that are dedicated for combat. They probably fall into the two category, not the three, because they're just a little bit more combat focused, more powerful than, say, like,
If they have light armor versus heavy armor, yes, whenever we get armor in the game.
right. And I think as well, then you'd be looking at, like, for example, freelancer would probably fall into the two category. It can mix it up with light fighters and stuff. Now, the reason I would put it in that category, it can't really mix it up with the heavy fighters, and it's got a lot of firepower, but it doesn't turn that fast, so it kind of makes up for it a little bit. Constellation would go into a four. I mean, sorry, a three. I mean, I'm stuck on four. I feel like the guys from was it the whole Knights of the Holy Grail, like 1, 2, 5, 3, sir. Um, keep sticking on that number. But we're basically the idea of splitting it up into some sort of limited tier structure system, and I think would really draw people into playing the game. I think a lot of people are apprehensive about joining Arena Commander in general, not just because of some of the control issues and whatnot, or the source
Everyone's
system.
flying the Super Hornet
Oh, I
and just
know.
nuking everybody. So what's the point if you don't have a Super Hornet?
Right, you go into it and you just and if you don't have a Super Hornet, you're basically running against a bunch of meta builds, six one-shot cannons, and it's really ugly. And that comes out of ship balance as well, because there should not be, ideally, in a game such as Star Citizen, a one ship that everyone ends up going to.
The one ship to rule them all.
Right, it shouldn't happen, and that's gonna be a real issue. And if they start incorporating, like right now, ships just have hit points, and I think that mass should be the dictator of hit points, like how much mass there is, and then you put the armor on, and the armor doesn't cover everything; it covers the spots the armor covers. So, but I don't think hit points is a good solution to anything. I think it's obviously a ship that's like the M50 is not going to have as many hit points as, say, something like Freelancer, because the Freelancer's got a lot more things they can get, a lot more surface space to be blown apart before it effectively is destroyed. M50 doesn't have a whole lot to work with. There's not a lot of extra on that ship. So, but then you add an armor, and you go from there. And that's just my opinion. But to me, it makes sense. It's more consistent. Like because they have the mass of the ships, they have the weight, and they can go, okay, this is this ship weighs this much, so it's going to have this many hit points. Let's just say for argument's sake, it has hit points equal to its massive weight. It's like, oh, this ship weighs 45,000 kilograms. Okay, well, it has 45,000 hit points, and that's just a simple way of doing it. Obviously, it could be.
It'd be a pretty decent way, at least starting wise.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we basically say like, hey, this ship's got a lot of pieces to it, and this has got, and then you say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and this ship's got armor on it, and then, um, and of course, if the armor is a part of that weight, you could subtract that from the total volume of the weight. Like, if 10,000 of that 45,000 is actually armor, then you could say, okay, well, it's actually 35,000 hit points, and then there's 10,000 points of armor, and the armor would be, this armor absorbs 60% of the damage or whatever. And so it's effective. It gives it more hit points in certain areas when it gets hit. But that's kind of going into it way too deep. But I've been looking at the situation. As we all know, participation in Arena Commander isn't that hot. But let's face it as well. A lot of us aren't here to get on leaderboards, and we aren't here to
Pew
fly
pew
around.
pew.
That's I've been doing PvP in years, and you could attest to that. You've been doing, I've done PvP tournaments in different games. We've done PvP all day, every day for like weeks, if not months, in some games.
And yeah, a bunch of other different games. It gets kind of old after a while. I mean, unless you have a lot of variants. Like, I hate to bring it up, but like Star Trek Online, you
Uh,
can kit out your ship in so many different ways. Not even talking about all the stuff that's broken about it, but just looking at it as these things can be equipped here, 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 and here. You can take one ship and have like 200 different build options with it. But I mean, the game is flawed in its own regard, but that's an example of you can change the way one ship works. So until they broke it, it was actually relatively enjoyable. Then you have games where it's like World of Tanks or Armored Warfare, where you have this type of vehicle, it's this tier, it does this, and you can pick from that list, which is kind of where Star Citizen's falling into currently until we actually get customization features.
Right, and of course, they said that the ships you get are base models, and you're going to be able to upgrade them. So obviously, a one could become a two, or a two could become a three, given the right equipment, the right parts, and the right money put into it. Um, and I guess a three could effectively, right, stuck in that four again. A three could effectively become a four, so to speak, and so on and so forth.
You know
But
what would be just hilarious though?
hmm,
Just as a little bit off topic here, is if right now they looked at anyone flying a Super Hornet and they put him in versus Super Hornets only. So everyone that was flying a Super Hornet only fought people that were fighting Super Hornets. That'd be just funny as hell, I think.
I think, as I said, there's a lot of people who aren't interested in Arena Commander, and I'm not a big metagamer. I don't like to do that anymore. For me, the game is about so much more, and if that's your focus, is going out there and attacking people because reasons, you know, I kind of feel bad for you because I mean, yeah, I guess you're kind of playing the game you want, but man, talk about wasting a lot of opportunity. There's just a lot of things out there you're going to be able to do other than just pew 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 pew, and focusing on that, I don't know. To me, it seems like you're
There's other
missing.
games that are just
Yeah,
ship combat. I mean,
absolutely. There's tons of them out there, and that's the thing. We don't have many games that are going to be offering us these other things, and you know, we'll still see a lot of balance issues that will be worked out, of course, over time, hopefully, and other things have reactivated like Track IR and be made to work again, and so on and so forth. But I think for now, to eliminate that apprehension, like I don't own a Super Hornet, right? I would love to do more public arena commander, but I'm not going to be able to jump into there because the ships that I have that would be able to compete, Vanguard and the Saber, you can't fly them yet. And so I'm flying in there basically with ships that got half the weapons or less. And
and a third of the hit points or something.
right, and like for example, let's say you got a 350R, right? Okay. You're What the 350R for is for, I guess you could look at it is a boom and zoom without the boom. and
Unless,
because
unless you put some heavy duty lasers on the wings or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, but but you've got an 8x8 box. You're trying to base
which is the thing I hate the most about it.
right, and so you're sitting there in a boom and zoom fighter. Now you can get from one end of the map to the other in about 30 seconds. Okay, there's not enough room to move. There's not enough room to go anywhere. And because of that, your only advantage has been negated, and now you're in a there's little this little pit, which is basically a boxing ring where you're just basically slugging it out, and the person with the greatest firepower is going to win. Now, in the persistent universe out there, where you've got the ability to cruise mode to get away, or to lose them in an asteroid field where because you're more maneuverable or whatever, that changes the dynamics quite a bit because you can keep running straight and running fast. And like anyone owning a 350R, I know that when I had a 350R, the thing is that the reason I got it is because it carries just like a little bit of cargo, and you can go from point A to point B. You're pretty much the fastest ship out there. And so if you don't want to be bothered by anybody, that's the point of it for me. It's got some guns in case you have to, but I'm interested in like, okay, I bought a couple guns for my other ship, throw them in the back of the 350R, and you're gone. And that's all I care about. And they say 350R doesn't have any storage capacity, but I don't buy that for 1 minute because it's got this exact same body, it's exact same area in the
The only
back.
thing they changed was the engine.
Right. So I think that's going to change. It's just unless they manage to like tear the whole ship down to it's not even recognizable as a 300 series, there's no reason the cargo would really be any different. Um, but
Unless
yes,
they added, if they changed the way the base 300 series looked, where you
right.
actually had like cargo pods that attached onto the side, where you could load things in. But even that, I mean, everything is loaded in the forms
Well,
of boxes, so it would
originally they
ruin the
said
overall shape.
that there would be cargo pods for 300 series, but they're supposed to be revamping the entire 300 series right now because some and one of the developers said it was a lot of the suggestions that I forget the one man who was showing all these different ways, like the cargo could load from the bottom with like the back part would actually lower down like a constellation's loading ramp, and you would actually put your cargo in the back and it would come back up.
It wouldn't
So
destroy the aesthetics or anything
right,
like that.
and he had shown how to do all this stuff, and one of the developers said a lot of his, not all of his ideas. He showed how to put sink and
Bed.
toilet, and well, the bed's already in there, but he sink
Oh,
and a
was it?
toilet.
Okay.
Yeah, sink and a toilet in there could also fit, and where they could go and how they could actually work. And anyway, that's like way off the point. But so yeah, I think that uh, they really need to construct a tier system because as it stands right now, it is a major discouragement for a lot of people who don't have their ships yet or are don't have some of their ships but don't have the ones that are combat oriented they're waiting for are still way out in the distance. So I mean, really, that's kind of wanted to bring up today as a suggestion because to me, uh, any removal of any barrier to entry for a lot of players and encouraging more people to get in there and test the game is only going to be helpful to every one of us. And that's what we really need to do at this point in time is kind of split it up, let the whole community know, hey guys, these ships are tier 1, these ships are tier 2, and these
And
ships are
these
tier
ships are
3.
tier 4.
I was waiting for you to say that. Oh gosh, 1, 2, 4, 3, sir. Um, so yeah, so basically, uh, an announcement like that, and what I feel would really kind of make the community more excited about coming in as well. I've already talked about. I think they said, and I can't remember exactly when this was, but with Star Marine, they talked about eventually when people start getting a certain performance level, they wanted to split up the when you join a queue. Uh,
Skill-based matchmaking.
yeah, skill based matchmaking. So
I think
why?
I know they talked about that, but they were saying it's going to be a while because they have to design an entire system to work
Yeah.
it.
Well, yeah, yeah, and also you have to have the stats. I mean, things level out over time, and you can't just you know.
Unless you're flying a Super Hornet.
Well, I'm talking about Star Marine though.
Well, I'm
So
sure there'll be a Super Hornet in the Star Marine somewhere.
yeah, you'll be running around with a heavy with a gun on each arm and
Dual wielding chain
one
machine
on your
guns.
cod piece, and you're just like running around. There's bullets flying everywhere. You got laser eyes. Yeah. So
Superman action.
exactly. So yeah. So I mean, they definitely need to do that in that area because that's just a good idea all around. And I don't think it'd be that hard to take. I think that the CryEngine has some sort of system maybe already in place for that. I mean, it is a shooter based kind of game.
I can't imagine it'd be really that hard because you just look at what ship are you in, and you get put into a different queue,
I'm
basically.
still talking about Star Marine, but
Oh,
yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But the thing is that yeah, it's all related. I mean, you want to encourage people to come in. And as far as ships go, yeah, you would just look at they would look at the firepower of the ships, and because obviously you can put upgrades on your ship's weaponry, and that's the thing too. Like a lot of these games that when you upgrade as you level something up or you get experience in something, you get unlock better weapons or whatnot. Uh, it might be something better than just fixing it to a hard number like this ship is 1, this ship is 2, this ship is 3, but define it as partially you come up with a set of metrics: speed, maneuverability, defense, and firepower. And when these certain amount of points together go over a certain marker, then the next rank is achieved. It goes into the next tier up. So you can upgrade an existing ship that you have and say like, oh, I have a base Aurora, but I'm going to go ahead and buy some missiles, better shields, and some better
I
guns
can't
with.
imagine anything you do to an Aurora would bump it up to a combat fighter level.
Well, there's some guns that are better than others. I mean, like if you were to put upgrade those like those basic things with REC points, okay, and it just crosses a certain line where it's just as, let's say, effective as a base Avenger. An Avenger starts at 2. Then you've kind of you may want to consider. Well, I don't know if I'll do that in my loadouts.
Yeah, because if you have it like that, that means the people that are skirting the line, like in Robocraft, um, the old system, basically people would take like a tier 5 weapon or a size 5 weapon, if you want to take the Star Citizen
Right,
as an example, and they'd stack it on like
a
an
chair.
M50. Yeah, it's like the M50, but it's got like the same firepower as a Super Hornet. It might only be like 2 or 3 guns, but they're so huge and overpowered that they're gimping the system. So you have to be careful when you're doing a system like that
It
because
is
people will find a way to like
manipulate it.
max out their firepower or pick a certain type of ship
Right.
and then yeah,
Well, you
then
have to.
they'll gimp themselves.
I mean, a ship should have a minimum number because you're right. I mean, basically, and I agree with that. It's a very good point because uh, you're right. Someone could say strip off take the Avenger, and they strip off uh, they're playing with sticks. So for the most part, they're force playing fixed, because of the horrible design decisions at this moment. So they say, I don't want that. I don't want that Gatling gun because it's pretty much pointless to me anyway. So they stripped that off the nose. So now they got like their 4 missiles in the wings, and they've got their 2 guns. Well, now their firepower is down, so they get dropped down to tier 1. That's kind of a way of gaming the system. So now you got a ship that will perform way better than base Auroras and whatnot, and it's now in with that tier. So yeah, they need to have a minimum. I think a minimum on a ship, but uh, there should be some sort of marker to let you upgrade it, and move it to the next one, because that's I don't know. To me, that's kind of I want to take my ship up a little bit and see how it performs against better fighters. If we don't have all the upgrades in yet, like I'm gonna buy new engines or new thrusters
The
and all that.
easiest way for them to do that, if they were going to do a system like this, is they'd have like a number when you're in like the customize your ship thing, which I still
Yeah,
hope they're changing that menu. But basically, you'd have an arbitrary number. Let's say it's in the thousands, right? So
yeah,
if you get a point value of over 100,000, you're in tier 2. So if you have 101,000 points on your ship, you are now tier 2. So you can look at that system and go, oh crap, it's just an Aurora, and maybe I need to remove this afterburner to the engines. It'll lower
right,
my acceleration, but it'll keep me in the tier 1 battle. If they're open and honest and tell you this is what happens,
right.
they could do a system
Well,
like that.
that happens in Forza. You know that when you put
Yeah,
a certain
yeah.
part on a car,
In
it'll
the new Robocraft, it does that as well.
right, and I think that is a very viable way to do it. And for example, in Forza, if you put on, say, a new transmission or a better engine, your D class car could end up being a C class car,
But it's
and
garbage.
but it's garbage for C class, and you're better off just taking off that part and being a top end D class, and yeah, so it's the same kind of thing. Uh, I think that's a very viable idea, and that all comes down to them having to kind of work that out. And I honestly don't think right now they have a whole lot of people working with controls and issues like this. Um, and
I
to
think they're
me,
mostly just developing
they
the ships and stuff.
I think that's a lot of effort put into that, and it seems to me that a lot of the controls and the control schemes are, for the most part, right now, kind of glued on there. There are uh, a lot of people trying to defend, like I said, the old 1.3 way and previous, and still trying to defend interactive mode. But the thing is that I really feel that for the most part, a lot of these are glued on solutions until they can get, like for example, this month we're getting the Starfare in the hangar. Uh,
Ooh, ship
uh,
video.
yeah, well, maybe. I'm still waiting to see my Vanguard because I'm not allowed to see because I have the most expensive Vanguard, which makes no sense to me. They
Oh, so
want
because it's the military version, it might be Starfire is done, but oh, we're not gonna let you see the basic one because you have
exactly
the military version.
right. I have the G, and the thing is that so that doesn't make sense to me. That's another thing they need to take care of because I want like the whole Vanguard is in development, and they let us see it in our hangars so we could give feedback on it.
Ding! Someone's got email.
I tell you that stupid phone. So basically, um, so we got this, this feedback forum, and even as an owner of the Vanguard, I can't actually give any feedback on it whatsoever because I can't see it. And that's they need to just when they do something like this, they need to open it up for everybody who's got one of these. It
No
doesn't
matter the variant.
no matter the variant, because that is absolutely just a pain in my rear end that to this day I still haven't seen the Vanguard that other people are looking at, and I own it. And that's very frustrating. And they need to not repeat this mistake. And they need to fix the mistake right now with the Vanguard, and they need to not make the same mistake with the G, because I'm going to be furious. I'm trying to make ship videos, and I don't get to make a ship video for like 3 or 4 months after everyone else has made a ship video. Is very frustrating to me. But that's more of a channel issue and anything else. Well, that's a personal issue too, because I want to wander around my ship. Sometimes I just log into the hangar to look at my ships, and I want to
And
see
we're
something
getting
there.
way off topic.
Way off topic. So anyway, guys, we're probably gonna be talking forever in a day and a half. I don't cut it off now, but anyway, guys, thanks again for listening in. We're gonna try to do a podcast every week, talk about a subject. Sometimes he may know what it is, sometimes he may not, and sometimes he might break something up for me to talk about. So, uh, once again, thanks for joining on the channel today. And this is Jarvis Citizen Gamer with Lightning Dragon, my bastion of common sense. And we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.